The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
Welcome back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my favorite panel, and I hope that they are yours also, Dr. Mark Bound and Dr. Scott Gersher. Today we will be answering listener emails, and we have a question from Joshua, who lives in Cleveland, Ohio. And Joshua asks, the No Kings rallies across the nation were widely attended. We saw peaceful protests, only disrupted by violent MAGA cultists. Trump downplayed the event, saying it wasn't widely attended. I guess 7 million isn't a big crowd. These rallies happened in all 50 states, even in the red ones. Should these rallies continue? Should the organizers plan more such events? Do you think these events are starting to have an impact? And I just want to make a comment on the third point. I don't know if they are having an overall impact, but they certainly seem to have annoyed Trump because he did put out an AI video, which if our listeners have not seen that, you might want to go take a look of Trump in a, I guess it would be an F-35.
Or maybe you don't want to look at this video.
Maybe you don't.
It is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, maybe you don't want to. Kenny Loggins, I think it's Kenny Loggins' song, Highway to the Danger Zone, which is from, I think it's from the Tom Cruise film, Top Gun, the first film. He objected to Trump's having used the song as a background to this AI video because Trump used it with the song without permission. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a lawsuit over that. In any event, Trump is wearing a crown and I believe flying an F-35, and Trump can fly an F-35 about as well as I can, which is to say not at all. In any event, Trump flies over New York City, Manhattan, I believe, and dumps human feces on top of all the No Kings protesters. There were Republicans, by the way, in the No Kings protest across the country. So he is dumping basically on all Americans. And I was curious to see, I am aware that great apes throw feces at one another when they are angry, or they'll throw them at people, for instance. And so I looked up to see who among the human family will throw around feces. And it turns out that people they smear feces. This is sort of the same thing, not exactly, but adults who have personality disorders, such as borderline, schizophrenia, autism, dementia, intellectual disabilities, people who have had trauma, they need sensory stimulation, difficulty with social cues, they have difficulty, they need control. For example, people like that tend to throw feces around or smear it with their fingers. And so this is not a normal adult reaction to anything. This is somebody who has a mental illness, or someone who has a personality disorder, or a intellectual behavioral problem.
Check.
Yep, an underlying medical issue. Yeah. The treatment may need to be intensive psychotherapy, behavioral interventions, or medication, including antipsychotic. So it's a serious issue in an adult, and people may say, well, or Trump sympathizers or apologists may say, well, is this just Trump having fun? This is the president of the United States, who's supposed to be the president for all Americans. And Leni Riefenstahl with Hitler over Germany. Leni Riefenstahl, Trump is not. To dump human feces or waste or whatever it was, which is certainly what it looks like, sewage, on top of people who protest him while he's wearing a crown. It's more than just fun or play or a very juvenile sense of humor, which Trump certainly has. It's being obsessed with the toilet and bowel movements, and someone who is in my estimation needs to be given psychiatric assistance that he is not being given. He's in a position of power that, in my view, and I still maintain this view, And he is not going to get any better. He's going to continue to get worse. We, the American people, should expect our situations here to get worse. I was listening recently, very recently, just over the weekend, denied that prices were going up. He said prices are coming down, groceries prices are coming down, gas prices are coming down, inflation is gone. He either has no contact with reality or is being shown false numbers or believes his own magical thinking. I mean, I don't know the man. He seems delusional to me. And then, of course, he goes into how terrible Biden was, and then we're back to everything about the 2020 election, and the meandering mind is also a sign of dementia, and dementia does not get any better.
All right, so Brooke, I think this is your answer to the last question that this listener said.
Yeah.
Are
So
these
go
events ahead. Are these events starting to have an impact
on Trump?
Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, Trump didn't make that video; he's just reposting it. He's not original or skilled or anything else clever enough
someone did
to do that, right? And so the idea of like dumping shit all over people is right now the official White House response to these protests. And should they continue? I'm telling you right now, I'm not throwing my sign away. I was out there on Saturday. I had a sign. Liked it very much. A lot of people seemed to like it. They took my picture quite a bit. It's out there. If the government wants to see me, they can, because it's out there. Lord knows. And I have an even more scatological sign that I'm holding in abeyance for the next time, which I think will happen. I'm not sure exactly when the next one will be, but I think these things will happen every 6 months or so. The first one was, I believe, because of the military parade that he wanted to happen, and this was a sort of counter protest to that. This one sort of came
on his birthday.
It came out of like nowhere really, but it's warm enough still out to be outside, and so October seemed like a good time to do this protest, I suppose. And now we'll probably have to wait through the winter until the spring before we do another one. But here's the thing, and I told this to, I guess my wife was talking about it because she was out there with me, and she's in the organized resistance. She's a postcarder. She gathers people together. They write postcards today. They're doing one today to get the postcards out in time for the general election next week, which I guess is next week or 2 weeks. And so she's like politically active in the resistance. I'm a little bit less so. I don't go out there postcarding. Nobody would be able to read my handwriting anyway. But I was out there with a sign, and she was a little disturbed that there were only 7 million people. She really thought that we should have at least 10 million, if not more than that. I agree with that. And she said, what's really the point of this? And I said, and this is my answer, I'll throw it out there. The Trump movement began with campaign rallies, and the people got together and they saw a like-minded company who believe what they believe, and they began to feel like a community, and MAGA was born, right? We are anti-MAGA. We are anti that. And by the way, I didn't see any. There were MAGA protesters near where I was, but they were very peaceful. I thought very respectful. They shouted, their slogans. They wondered why Trump, why we were protesting a president who was elected. Kings don't get elected. Dictators don't get elected. If we wanted to have that conversation, I suppose we could. I mean, I think Adolf Hitler was elected, and it didn't work out all that well in that particular case, but whatever. We can have that argument. But it was all very peaceful. It was well organized, and there was a community out there. The people coming up to me and saying, "I got to take your picture," were people who were happy to see, to be there together. We were forming our own anti-MAGA movement, and I think that that's a good thing. And I think more and more people do that. I think as Republicans realize, you know what, I don't want to pay more for my health care. or I don't want us bombing people in boats off of the coast of Venezuela, a country that's nowhere close to the United States of America. Or if as more and more people become aggrieved by prices, for example, that are not going down and are instead increasing, and more and more people realize who actually pays tariffs, even though the government keeps telling them that other countries are paying the tariffs and not American consumers or American importers or American companies. All of this stuff is beginning to reveal itself, and the more of us who get out there and form a community, the better. It worked for them. It should work for us. I tell you, everybody, it was a great time. It was a beautiful day. There were a lot of us there. People were chanting. People were, women on megaphones were yelling stuff, and there was a call and response, and everybody was real joyful about being there, and at the same time kind of shaking our heads going, oh yeah, Stephen Miller, he's just like Goebbels, but not as good. um or saying things like Trump wishes he was the king, worships these dictators, wishes he could do the stuff that they do. And I would say he's moving in that direction, certainly, right, with a lot of his action. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a strong showing. It'll continue to grow, and we should be happy about it. And everybody needs to, as they used to say during World War II, do your bit. Do what you can to resist the destruction of this great constitutional republic into what people I know and really care about say. We need a king in America because democracy is too slow. Our constitutional republic is too slow. Congress is moribund at best and ineffective, and we need a strong leader to take over. Sorry, not this country. There's other countries that are like that. You're more than welcome to move to them. This country has a constitution, and that constitution should be followed by everyone, including the president. We were talking about culture in an earlier podcast. Our culture is a low power culture, low power distance culture. And there's no reason on earth why we should ever want a dictator or a king of America. And that's all we're saying. I don't see how you disagree with that. If you're a Republican, come on out. We don't need kings here. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I did see a couple of news things on the news that basically showed a couple of Karens showing up with guns, and it was very satisfying to see the police take them away, and they were the MAGA crowd. Yeah, I mean, is this effective? Yeah, I think it is, and it's great to see. It really was. Even here in South Carolina, where you wouldn't expect very much as far as a support, just in where I live, which is not a very big town, there was over 1,000 people, which kind of surprised me that there was that many people out. So yeah, I think it's getting the message out, and this is not about. And I think Scott makes a very good point. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This is about the form of government that we live under. This isn't saying vote Democrat. This is saying no kings. It's a simple message. It isn't saying all Republicans are pieces of crap. It isn't saying that. What it's saying is that the person that's in the White House today and some of the policies are moving toward almost a monarchy. It's the way monarchies work. And Trump is coming out and saying something like, "Well, I don't think myself as a king. I'm working my ass off out here to try to make America great again." Well, my first question is to that, and to all the MAGA. I didn't know America wasn't great before you got into the office. What is it exactly that you wanted to fix? Maybe it is what Scott just said. People think democracy is slow. It doesn't, act quickly enough. Well, bad news, people. That's just the way democracy works. That's the way we're set up. That is also set up, and it's a conservative idea, a true conservative idea, not just jumping into things. If this was liberal or progressive, if democracy was in any way liberal or progressive, it would just jump into things. There are very few types of government more conservative valued as far as the way it works than democracy. Slow, steady, slow to change, but change it will. Because if you're going to survive, you've got to change. That's all there is to it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think Scott makes a lot of really great points onto this. So I don't think, you're thinking this is this is not the lefties. At least it shouldn't be. It really should not be. This is the difference between what back in 1776 we called the Patriots, and the other group, such as Ben Franklin's son, who was the governor of the royal governor of New Jersey. Those that supported the monarchy of England. That's really what this is, and they came from all different stripes. You can't tell me that the founding fathers were all of the same political party. They weren't. Two people never disagreed more than Jefferson and Adams on many things, but they agreed on one thing: no king. That they agreed on. And so, yeah, this is, I think sometimes we get the wrong idea. Now, if this was a Democrat movement, 7 million is a lot, but I don't think they were all Democrats. I truly don't. I don't. I think you had a bunch of Republicans. I think you had a bunch of independents, and I think you had a bunch of Democrats. Does this signal anything toward the election? My answer is no, it does not. Now, if this was 7 million Democrats, even I'd still say probably it isn't going to signal anything. Because, yeah, they're good at going out and standing there on the street corner with a sign. They're not so good at the time when it comes to go vote in the voting booth showing up. And I think that's what happened in 2024. So all the Democrats that are crying about it, you had the lowest turnout there was. Plain and simple. If you had a turnout like you should have had, you wouldn't be in this position right now. But I think that this is it's being framed. Fox News is trying to frame it its own way. Absolutely. Oh, this is those radical, violent lefties, and they hate America, or they hate America thing. No, we hate what the America you're trying to create. Mike Johnson, the most punchable face on the face of the earth. We hate the. Although I'm in one of the last podcasts, Scott did mention, because we mentioned Rand Paul. He said hopefully his neighbors will go beat him up somewhere. Maybe he's got the second punchable face. I don't know. I'll have to ask about that.
I could have made a fortune on Saturday just by offering people to punch Stephen Miller, who was on my sign, for $1. I could have made a fortune like that.
See, we got to come up with that. I mean, we don't take any kind of there's no monetization of the Nova Society. That might be our method. We've got to come up with the top 10 punchable faces, and we will send you a thing, and you can punch away at it as much as you want. But I mean, but the idea that this is being framed, let's not let the No Kings protest be framed as something that it is not. It is not a Democrat thing. George Soros is not paying everybody $200 to show up out there. I'm sorry. That's just not happening. This is not specifically just Democrats. But the MAGA people, as Scott points out, there's people out there. The MAGA people, yeah, they're all right with a king. They're all right with a dictator. And I always try to avoid making the comparison with history. But there was a time in history in a certain country, not in the United States, where that was okay with them too. And look what they ended up with. So again, this should be framed exactly for what it is.
And can I just jump in with a quick point?
Yes.
because so many people do think that we need a king, or do think that we need a strong leader, or at the very least a very strong president, the types we've probably stronger than any other president we've had before, but we've had strong presidents, right? FDR was a strong president. Reagan was a strong president. We've had strong presidents who wanted to be big, heavy hitters in politics. And maybe that's not the right message for the MAGA people. But I'm going to predict
here we go.
that by the spring, when the next big rally might actually happen, that the economy will drive more people to that event than the 7 million that were here for the No Kings. The no tariff rally or the stop destroying my economy rally, you've thrown us into a recession rally, or we're sick and tired of paying off farmers rally. That kind of thing is going to be really, really big, and that will be in the spring of 2026.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, as I understand it, Trump and his buddies were apparently terrified of the number of people who were potentially going to show up. And I do think that the No King should continue. Absolutely. I was also disappointed to see there were only 7 million. I was hoping for at least 10, if not 12. But I think that Scott is correct. In the spring, after the Medicare, Medicaid, the healthcare debacle hits, and after the food shortages start, that will be next summer, I guess, because the individuals who harvest crops have not been available. They've been either deported or are too frightened to go to work. So our food stores are very, very low, and the possibility of food insecurity, which has not been something that any of us has ever seen in this country, that is apparently quite real, and that will show up certainly in the spring.
I don't know, Brooke. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that Mark and I don't know about food insecurity? That's a little insulting.
No, I mean across the country, where it's simply not. No. I mean, I've seen it in my lifetime, but I mean, just at home. But I
thought you were fat shaming us.
No. I wasn't even thinking about that. No. I mean, no. I wasn't even thinking about weight.
And while we're on that topic, Brooke, I want to give I know we have some people listen to us in Idaho to say, man, bad move, Idaho. I don't know if you guys caught this, but there was a news item this week that I guess it's a potato. Is that where Idaho potatoes?
Potatoes.
A potato, an enormous potato farm that after the harvest was over, the farmers called ICE on the migrant workers.
Oh, yeah.
And had them rounded up rather than paying them for their hard labor picking potatoes. And that's just a low life move. If that's the case, if you know somebody who participated in something as low as that is, well, it's actually what Trump used to do all the time when he had foreign workers working on his construction projects. Rather than pay them, he would simply have them deported.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that likens back to during the to the history thing. Edward Longshanks, when he was fighting against William Wallace, they asked him, well, who are we going to send in? He goes, send in the Irish mercenaries. You don't have to pay dead mercenaries, and they're cheaper than arrows. So that's what you get with a king. That's kind of the way it works. So if you want it, hey, congratulations, knock yourselves out. But please do not allow this to be framed as something that's not. And Brooke, I'm not too terribly unhappy with the numbers, because it wasn't only the numbers in the big cities; it was the numbers in the small rural towns that are in deep red states and I'll say this: South Carolina is one of them. And there was a bunch of different organized rallies here. And like I say, the where I live, the city is about 45,000, maybe. The county is quite a bit larger, but there was over 1,000 people, and this is as deep red Bible Belt as you're going to get. And to think that number of people showed up, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. So hopefully we answered that.
Yeah, very long time.
I still think there are more of us than them, and that if we get the vote out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you live. If you go out and vote, vote, and you vote the right way, you vote for people who actually are trying to do the best for the American people and not serve a would-be king, then I think we'll be okay. No matter how gerrymandered we are, there are still more of us than them, and that we can make a difference.
Yeah, but then it depends on who counts the votes. And Dominion sold their company, the voting machines. They sold their company to an election denier.
Womp womp. Yeah, so no, it's true. It's a fair point.
I know.
Nobody should be using those Dominion voting machines. I guess it was just the point, right? They don't want voting machines. They want paper ballots, or they want people to have a purple mark on their finger or something like that, to count the vote. But yeah.
Oh.
We could talk about voting machines another time.
Yes. So, yep. So rallies should continue. Yes, and I really hope the organizers do plan more attacks, more such events. Yes. So, Joshua, I do hope that we answered your questions, and thank you for your questions, and thank you to all our listeners for spending some time with us on the Nova Society. And if you're not yet subscribed on the platform of your choice, please do so. Subscribing is free. And we look forward to seeing you again on the Nova Society.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Phoenix Research Group, an independent research consortium offering social-political issue solutions to NGOs and international government agencies through multidisciplinary, nonpartisan, and unbiased research. The Phoenix Research Group is a division of the Phoenix Research Institute, the producer of the Nova Society podcast.